In the unforgiving mountains of Afghanistan, where death lurks behind every rocky outcrop, and the enemy knows the terrain better than their own heartbeat, a single shot can mean the difference between coming home or being carried home in a flag-draped coffin. On that scorching August morning in 2018, 12 heavily armed Taliban fighters thought they had cornered their prey, a small American reconnaissance team trapped in a valley with nowhere to run. They had no idea that 800 meters away, lying motionless among the jagged rocks, was someone they never saw coming. Someone whose steady hands and calculated breathing would turn their moment of victory into their final mistake. This is not just another war story. This is the account of Staff Sergeant Maya Rodriguez, a woman who shattered every preconception about what a warrior looks like, who proved that deadly precision has no gender, and who earned her place among the most elite fighting force in the world through blood, sweat, and an unbreakable will to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. In 5 minutes that felt like 5 hours, she would rewrite the rules of engagement and remind everyone why underestimating the quiet ones is the last mistake you'll ever make. Maya Rodriguez never planned to become a killer. Growing up in the dusty streets of El Paso, Texas, she was the quiet girl who helped her grandmother with groceries and spent her evenings reading military history books instead of gossiping with friends. Her father, a mechanic with calloused hands and a gentle heart, always told her she could be anything she wanted. Her mother, a nurse who worked double shifts at the county hospital, showed her what strength really looked like. Neither of them imagined their soft-spoken daughter would one day become one of the most feared snipers in the United States Navy SEALs. The path to that mountain in Afghanistan began on a humid September morning in 2008, when 18-year-old Maya walked into the Navy recruitment office in downtown El Paso. The recruiter, a barrel-chested man named Sergeant Martinez, looked her up and down with barely concealed skepticism. At 5 feet 4 inches and weighing barely 125 pounds, Maya didn't fit the typical image of a warrior. Her long black hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her brown eyes held a quiet intensity that most people mistook for shyness. "What can I do for you, miss?" Martinez asked, already reaching for pamphlets about administrative positions and medical corps opportunities. Maya straightened her shoulders and met his gaze directly. "I want to serve my country. I want to join the Navy." Martinez smiled patronizingly. "That's great, honey. We have some excellent programs for young women like yourself. Hospital corpsman, yeoman, intelligence specialist." "I want to be a SEAL," Maya interrupted, her voice calm but firm. The recruitment office fell silent. Martinez's smile faded, replaced by a mixture of confusion and amusement. "Listen, sweetheart," he said, leaning back in his chair. "SEALs are the toughest warriors in the world. It's not a place for women." Maya finished. "I understand that. I also understand that rules change, and I want to be ready when they do." What Martinez didn't know was that Maya had been preparing for this moment for 3 years. While her classmates spent weekends at the mall or watching movies, Maya was at the local gym at 5 in the morning, pushing her body to its limits. She ran 12 miles every day, swam for 2 hours, and practiced marksmanship at the shooting range where her uncle worked as an instructor. She studied every military manual she could find, memorized the SEAL training requirements, and visualized herself completing every evolution of BUD/S training. Her uncle, Carlos, was a retired Marine sniper who had served 2 tours in Iraq. He was the first person to recognize something special in Maya's steady hands and unnaturally calm demeanor. While teaching her to shoot, he noticed she could hit targets at distances that impressed even veteran marksmen. More importantly, she never got rattled under pressure. When other shooters' hands shook from adrenaline or frustration, Maya's remained rock steady. "You've got something special, Mija," Carlos told her one evening as they cleaned their rifles after a practice session. "Most people see targets as objects to hit. You see them as problems to solve." Maya's analytical mind was perhaps her greatest asset. She approached every challenge with methodical precision, breaking complex problems down into manageable components. This trait served her well in high school, where she graduated valedictorian despite working part-time jobs to help support her family. It would serve her even better in the crucible of military training. After signing her Navy contract, Maya was shipped to Great Lakes Naval Training Center in Illinois for boot camp. From her first day, she faced skepticism and sometimes outright hostility from drill instructors who questioned whether she belonged there. Chief Petty Officer Reynolds, a weathered veteran with 20 years of service, made his opinion clear during her first week. "Rodriguez," he barked during morning inspection. "You think this is summer camp? You think we're going to go easy on you because you're small?" "No, Chief," Maya responded, her voice steady. "You better be right, because I'm going to make your life miserable until you prove you belong here or quit trying." Reynolds wasn't exaggerating. He assigned Maya extra duties, longer runs, and heavier loads during training exercises. He scrutinized her performance with microscopic attention to detail, looking for any excuse to recommend her for dismissal. What he found instead was a recruit who never complained, never made excuses, and never failed to meet his impossible standards. During the crucible exercise that marked the end of boot camp, Maya's squad was tasked with completing a 20-mile forced march while carrying full combat gear. Halfway through the exercise, one of her squad mates, a large man named Jenkins who had initially been dismissive of her presence, collapsed from exhaustion. Without hesitation, Maya redistributed his gear among the other squad members and helped support his weight for the remaining 10 miles. "Why?" Reynolds asked her after the exercise, genuinely curious about her motivation. "Because that's what teammates do, Chief," Maya replied simply. It was during boot camp that Maya first encountered the shooting sports program that would change her life. The Navy's marksmanship team was looking for new talent, and Maya's scores on the rifle range had caught their attention. Staff Sergeant Williams, the team's coach, approached her after a particularly impressive shooting session. "Rodriguez, I've been watching your scores," Williams said, reviewing her target sheets. "These aren't beginner numbers. Where did you learn to shoot?" "My uncle taught me," Staff Sergeant. "He's former Marine Corps." Williams nodded appreciatively. "It shows. Have you ever considered competitive shooting?" Maya had never thought about it seriously, but Williams explained that excellence in marksmanship could open doors to specialized training opportunities. Elite military units were always looking for exceptional shooters, and the skills she could develop on a shooting team would be directly applicable to operational requirements. "What kind of opportunities?" Maya asked. "The kind that could get you noticed by the people who matter," Williams replied cryptically. Maya joined the shooting team and quickly established herself as one of the most promising marksmen in the Navy. She competed in regional and national competitions, consistently placing in the top percentiles against seasoned professionals and Olympic-level athletes. More importantly, she began to understand the mental aspects of precision shooting that separated good marksmen from great ones. Shooting at the elite level required more than physical ability. It demanded absolute mental discipline, the ability to control breathing and heart rate under extreme pressure, and the capacity to make split-second calculations involving distance, wind speed, atmospheric conditions, and target movement. These were skills that couldn't be taught from textbooks or learned through repetition alone. They required an intuitive understanding of ballistics and an almost supernatural ability to predict and compensate for variables that could affect bullet trajectory. Maya discovered she possessed these qualities in abundance. During one particularly challenging competition, she was required to engage targets at varying distances while wearing full combat gear and operating under time pressure. The course was designed to simulate combat conditions, with realistic stress factors including loud noises, smoke, and unexpected obstacles. While other competitors struggled with the pressure and environmental conditions, Maya seemed to enter a state of complete calm. Her breathing remained controlled, her movements deliberate and efficient. She engaged each target with mechanical precision, adjusting her aim for distance and wind conditions with calculations that seemed automatic. When the smoke cleared, she had achieved a perfect score, hitting every target with shots grouped so tightly they appear to be a single hole. The performance attracted attention from unexpected quarters. Among the observers was Commander Sarah Mitchell, a naval special warfare officer who was quietly evaluating potential candidates for specialized training programs. Mitchell had been following Maya's career since her boot camp performance reports crossed her desk, and the shooting demonstration confirmed her suspicions that Rodriguez possessed the rare combination of physical ability, mental toughness, and technical skill that the special operations community valued. After the competition, Mitchell approached Maya with an opportunity that would change her life forever. Rodriguez, I've been watching your progress with interest, Mitchell began. How would you feel about some additional training opportunities? Maya had learned to be cautious about offers that sounded too good to be true, but something about Mitchell's direct manner and professional demeanor suggested this was legitimate. What kind of training, ma'am? The kind that would prepare you for opportunities that don't officially exist yet, Mitchell replied. The military is changing, Rodriguez. Policies that have been in place for decades are being reevaluated. Women who prove they can meet the same standards as men are going to have opportunities that previous generations couldn't imagine. Mitchell explained that Maya had been selected for an experimental program designed to evaluate whether women could successfully complete the training and operational requirements of elite special operations units. The program was highly classified, conducted in partnership with several allied nations that had already begun integrating women into special forces roles. I won't lie to you, Mitchell continued. This will be the hardest thing you've ever done. The training is designed to break people who think they're tough. The failure rate is over 90%, and that's for men who have been preparing their entire lives for this opportunity. Maya felt her heart racing, but her voice remained steady when she responded. When do I start? The training program was conducted at a classified facility in Virginia, where Maya joined 11 other women from various military branches. They came from different backgrounds, but all had demonstrated exceptional performance in their respective fields. There was Lieutenant Sarah Chun, an Army Ranger qualified officer who had led combat patrols in Iraq. Captain Jennifer Brooks, an Air Force combat controller who had called in airstrikes under enemy fire. Sergeant First Class Maria Santos, a Marine Corps reconnaissance specialist who had conducted deep penetration missions in Afghanistan. Despite their impressive credentials, the instructors made it clear from day one that past achievements meant nothing in this environment. Master Chief Thompson, a SEAL with 15 years of operational experience, addressed the group during their first formation. Ladies, you volunteered to be here because you think you're tough, Thompson began, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had seen combat in every major conflict of the past 2 decades. You think your records speak for themselves. You think you've already proven you belong here. He paused, letting his gaze move across each face in the formation. You're wrong. Everything you've done up to this point was preparation for the real test. We're going to find out what you're really made of, and most of you aren't going to like what you discover. The training began immediately with physical challenges that pushed every participant to their absolute limits. 20-mile runs in full combat gear, underwater swimming exercises that tested breath control and panic management, obstacle courses designed to challenge every aspect of physical and mental toughness. Maya watched as women who had excelled in conventional military training struggled with the unique demands of special operations preparation. Lieutenant Chun, despite her Ranger background, was eliminated during the second week when she failed to complete a rock climbing evolution within the required time limit. Captain Brooks made it through the physical challenges, but was dropped when she couldn't maintain composure during a simulated capture and interrogation exercise. One by one, Maya watched exceptional women discover that exceptional wasn't enough for this environment. By the end of the first month, only 4 women remained in the program. Maya had not only survived every evolution, but had consistently ranked among the top performers. Her shooting scores were flawless, her physical fitness assessments exceeded minimum standards, and her performance under stress impressed even the skeptical instructors. But it was during a night navigation exercise that Maya truly distinguished herself from her peers. The evolution required participants to navigate 10 miles of rough terrain in complete darkness, using only a compass and map to reach a series of checkpoints. The course was designed to test land navigation skills, but it also evaluated decision-making ability, stress management, and the capacity to maintain performance standards when exhausted and disoriented. Maya completed the course faster than any previous participant, male or female. More impressive than her speed was her accuracy. While other participants arrived at checkpoints several hundred meters off target, Maya hit each location with GPS-level precision. When instructors reviewed her route planning, they discovered she had chosen optimal paths that balanced speed with safety, avoiding hazards that had slowed other participants. Master Chief Thompson pulled Maya aside after the exercise to discuss her performance. "Rodriguez, I've been doing this for a long time," Thompson said. "I've seen a lot of talented people come through these programs. Most of them are either physically gifted or mentally tough, but rarely both. You got something different." "Thank you, Master Chief," Maya replied, unsure where the conversation was heading. "I'm not giving you a compliment," Thompson continued. "I'm making an observation. You process information differently than most people. When others see complexity, you see patterns. When they see obstacles, you see solutions. That's not something that can be taught." Thompson explained that Maya had been recommended for advanced marksmanship training, specifically focusing on precision shooting and counter-sniper operations. It was a specialized field that required not just exceptional shooting ability, but the mental capacity to operate independently in high-stress environments for extended periods. "Snipers work alone or in small teams," Thompson said. "They need to be self-sufficient, mentally stable, and capable of making life-or-death decisions with limited information. It's not for everyone." Maya accepted the additional training without hesitation, unaware that she was about to embark on a journey that would transform her from an exceptional marksman into one of the most capable precision shooters in the world. The advanced program was conducted by instructors who had operational experience in every major conflict of the past 20 years, men who had taken shots under enemy fire and lived to analyze their performance. The training was as much psychological as physical. Maya learned to control her breathing and heart rate to degrees that bordered on superhuman. She studied ballistics and meteorology until she could calculate bullet trajectories in her head while under extreme stress. She learned to remain motionless for hours at a time, maintaining concentration and readiness despite physical discomfort and mental fatigue. But perhaps most importantly, she learned to embrace the mental isolation that came with the sniper's role. While other military specialties relied on teamwork and mutual support, snipers operated in a psychological space that few people could understand. They made decisions that affected life and death from distances that removed them from the immediate consequences of their actions. It required a unique form of mental toughness that combined absolute confidence with constant self-doubt. As her training progressed, Maya discovered she possessed an almost supernatural ability to read environmental conditions and predict their effects on bullet trajectory. While other marksmen relied heavily on instruments and calculations, Maya seemed to intuitively understand how wind, temperature, and atmosphere pressure would affect her shots. Her instructors had never seen anything like it. "Rodriguez," said Chief Petty Officer Davis, one of her marksmanship instructors, "you're shooting like someone with 10 years of combat experience. How are you making these adjustments?" Maya struggled to explain her thought process. "I don't know, Chief. I just see how the bullet is going to fly." Davis nodded thoughtfully. "Some people have that gift. The really great ones develop it through experience, but you seem to have been born with it." The culmination of Maya's training was a final evaluation exercise that would determine whether she was qualified for operational deployment. The test required her to demonstrate every skill she had learned over the past year, from basic marksmanship to complex problem-solving under stress. She would be evaluated by a panel of special operations veterans who had seen combat in multiple theaters and knew the difference between range performance and battlefield readiness. Maya approached the final evaluation with the same methodical preparation that had carried her through every previous challenge. She reviewed her notes, checked her equipment, and mentally rehearsed each component of the test. When the morning arrived, she was as ready as preparation could make her. The evaluation began before dawn, with a 10-mile run in full combat gear to reach the testing site. Maya completed the run within the required time and immediately transitioned to the technical phases of the test. She engaged targets at distances from 300 to 1,200 meters, demonstrating proficiency with multiple weapon systems and ammunition types. She solved complex range estimation problems, calculated ballistic solutions for various environmental conditions, and maintained accuracy while operating under artificially induced stress. By late afternoon, Maya had completed every component of the evaluation with scores that impressed even veteran instructors. As the sun began to set, Chief Petty Officer Davis approached her with the results. "Rodriguez," he said, "in 15 years of conducting these evaluations, I've never seen performance like yours. You didn't just pass, you set new standards." Maya felt a mixture of pride and relief, but Davis wasn't finished. "There's something else," he continued. "We've been authorized to offer you additional opportunities. Opportunities that officially don't exist yet." Davis explained that changes in military policy were creating new possibilities for women in special operations roles. Maya's performance had demonstrated that women could not only meet the same standards as men, but could potentially exceed them in specialized areas. She was being offered the chance to become part of an experimental program that would integrate qualified women into SEAL teams on a trial basis. "I won't lie to you," Davis said. "You'll be walking into an environment where you'll have to prove yourself every single day. Some people will never accept you, regardless of your performance. Others will be waiting for you to fail so they can say they were right all along." Maya considered the implications of his words. She would be entering a brotherhood that had existed for decades without women, challenging traditions and assumptions that ran deeper than military protocol. She would face skepticism, hostility, and pressure that no man would ever experience. Every mistake would be magnified, every success questioned. "When do I start?" she asked. The next phase of Maya's journey would take her to the most exclusive and demanding training program in the world, where she would either prove that women belonged among the world's most elite warriors or become another casualty of institutional resistance to change. Either way, she was determined to find out exactly how far her abilities could take her. As she prepared to leave the training facility, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. 18 months earlier, she had been just another young woman with big dreams and no clear path to achieve them. Now she was about to become part of something that had never existed before, a pioneer in a field that hadn't welcomed pioneers in decades. She thought about her parents, who had supported her unconventional choices without fully understanding them. She thought about her uncle Carlos, who had first shown her that precision shooting was as much art as science. Most importantly, she thought about the unknown challenges that lay ahead and the certainty that she would face them with the same quiet determination that had carried her this far. Maya Rodriguez was ready to become a Navy SEAL, regardless of whether the Navy SEALs were ready for her. The bus ride to Naval Amphibious Base Coronado felt like a journey to another planet. Maya stared out the window at the California coastline, watching surfers catch waves in the distance while her mind processed the magnitude of what she was about to attempt. Bud/S training, the legendary crucible that forged Navy SEALs, had broken thousands of men who considered themselves warriors. Now she would discover whether 18 months of specialized preparation had adequately equipped her for a challenge that officially didn't allow women to participate. The experimental integration program operated in a carefully constructed gray area of military policy. Maya would train alongside male candidates, meeting identical standards and facing the same evaluations. The difference was that her participation remained classified, known only to a small number of senior officers who would determine the future of women in special operations based on her performance. Commander Sarah Mitchell had been clear about the stakes during their final briefing. "Rodriguez, you're not just representing yourself in this program," Mitchell had explained. Every woman who might follow this path will be judged by your success or failure. That's not fair, but it's reality. The weight of that responsibility might have crushed someone else, but Maya found it clarifying rather than paralyzing. She had always performed better under pressure, and this was simply pressure on a scale she hadn't experienced before. Her first day at BUD/S began at 0430 hours with a familiar sound of instructors shouting reveille. Maya had been assigned to Class 324, a group of 180 men who had already survived the initial screening process and psychological evaluations. As she fell into formation with her fellow candidates, she caught glimpses of suspicious glances and whispered conversations. Word of her presence had apparently spread despite official secrecy. Instructor Chief Petty Officer Martinez stepped in front of the formation, his voice carrying across the pre-dawn darkness. "Gentlemen and lady," he began, his pause emphasizing Maya's unique status. "Welcome to the beginning of the worst experience of your lives. Over the next 6 months, we're going to find out which of you has what it takes to earn the trident, and which of you will be going home with stories about how you almost became a SEAL." Martinez's gaze lingered on Maya for a moment longer than the others. "Some of you might think we're going to go easy because we have mixed company. Let me correct that misconception right now. There are no special considerations, no modified standards, no exceptions. Everyone meets the same requirements, or everyone fails." The first phase of BUD/S focused on physical conditioning and basic water competency, designed to eliminate candidates who lacked the fundamental fitness required for special operations. Maya had prepared extensively for these challenges, but preparation could only simulate the relentless pressure of continuous evaluation and competition. The daily routine began with physical training that would have challenged Olympic athletes. 4-mile runs on soft sand, calisthenic sessions that lasted for hours, obstacle courses designed to test every aspect of physical and mental toughness. Maya quickly established herself as one of the strongest performers in the class, matching or exceeding the performance of men who outweighed her by 50 pounds or more. Her superior conditioning became apparent during the weekly timed runs, where she consistently finished among the top 5 candidates despite being the smallest person in the class. During calisthenics, her technique and endurance impressed even skeptical instructors. When they reached the obstacle course, her combination of strength, agility, and problem-solving ability allowed her to navigate challenges that stopped larger, stronger candidates. But it was in the pool that Maya truly distinguished herself. The water competency phase of BUD/S was notorious for breaking candidates who considered themselves strong swimmers. The exercises were designed to simulate drowning scenarios, requiring candidates to remain calm and follow instructions while their bodies screamed for air. During the 50-meter underwater swim, candidates were required to complete the distance without surfacing, maintaining forward progress despite oxygen deprivation and the overwhelming urge to breathe. Maya approached the evolution with the same analytical mindset she brought to everything else, calculating her oxygen consumption and stroke efficiency to maximize her chances of success. As she pushed off on the wall, Maya entered the meditative state she had learned during marksmanship training. Her movements became economical and precise, each stroke propelling her forward with minimal energy expenditure. While other candidates thrashed through the water in desperate attempts to reach the far wall, Maya's progress was smooth and controlled. Halfway through the swim, her lungs began burning with the need for oxygen. Her vision started to narrow, and her body demanded that she surface immediately. Instead, Maya forced herself to relax further, slowing her heart rate and extending her oxygen supply through sheer force of will. She completed the swim with 5 meters to spare, surfacing calmly while several of her classmates required instructor assistance. The pool competency exercises escalated throughout the week, culminating in the dreaded drown-proofing evolution. Candidates were required to complete a series of underwater tasks while their hands and feet were bound, simulating capture and survival scenarios that special operations personnel might encounter in the field. The exercise began with candidates treading water for 15 minutes with bound hands and feet, using only subtle body movements to maintain buoyancy. Maya had practiced this skill extensively, but the reality of performing while surrounded by struggling classmates created psychological pressure that no training could replicate. As the minutes ticked by, candidates around her began to panic. The combination of restricted movement and chlorinated water entering their airways triggered primal fear responses that overwhelmed rational thinking. Maya watched several men signal for instructor assistance, their dreams of becoming SEALs ending in that moment. She focused on her breathing and body position, making micro-adjustments to maintain perfect buoyancy without wasting energy. When instructors added additional challenges, requiring candidates to swim to the bottom of the pool and retrieve rubber ducks with their teeth, Maya completed each task with mechanical precision. By the end of pool week, Maya had not only survived every evolution, but had demonstrated water skills that impressed veteran instructors. Chief Martinez pulled her aside after the final exercise to discuss her performance. "Rodriguez, I've been doing this for 8 years, Martinez said. "I've seen a lot of strong swimmers come through this program. What you did this week was exceptional." "Thank you, Chief," Maya replied, though she sensed there was more to the conversation. "I'm not finished," Martinez continued. "Exceptional physical performance is necessary, but not sufficient for what comes next. The ocean doesn't care how strong you are if you can't think under pressure." Martinez was referring to the surf passage phase of training, where candidates would learn to operate in the Pacific Ocean under conditions that had killed experienced watermen. The cold water, powerful currents, and unpredictable waves created an environment where mistakes could be fatal, and mental toughness was as important as physical ability. Maya's first experience with surf passage came during a gray dawn when offshore winds had built 6-foot waves that crashed against the beach with bone-jarring force. Candidates were required to paddle inflatable boats through the surf zone, navigate to predetermined points offshore, and return without losing crew members or equipment. The evolution began badly when Maya's boat crew struggled to coordinate their paddling through the initial wave break. The rubber boat was repeatedly driven back toward shore by waves that seemed to target their specific location. After 30 minutes of failed attempts, the crew was exhausted and demoralized. Maya realized that their approach was fundamentally flawed. Instead of trying to power through the waves, they needed to time their movements to work with the ocean's rhythm. She called for the crew to pause and observe the wave patterns, identifying brief intervals when smaller sets created windows of opportunity. "Next lull, we go hard, and don't stop until we're through the break," Maya instructed her boat crew. "If we get hit by a wave, we paddle harder, not softer." When a moment came, Maya called the pace while her crew drove their paddles through the water with synchronized efficiency. They broke through the surf line on their first attempt of a new approach, reaching the offshore checkpoint while other boat crews were still struggling in the waves. The return journey was even more challenging, as they had to navigate through breaking waves while maintaining control of their boat's orientation. Maya positioned herself in the bow, reading the wave patterns and calling out corrections to keep them aligned with the safest passage route. They reached the beach with their crew and equipment intact, earning recognition from instructors who had expected them to struggle. Her performance during surf passage earned Maya a reputation among her classmates as someone who could think clearly under pressure. While other candidates relied on brute force or blind determination, Maya consistently found efficient solutions to complex problems. This trait became even more valuable as training progressed to more technical phases. The land warfare component of BUD/S introduced candidates to the tactical skills that formed the foundation of special operations. Map reading, patrol tactics, weapons handling, and small unit leadership were taught through practical exercises that required candidates to apply classroom learning under field conditions. Maya excelled in navigation exercises, demonstrating the same intuitive understanding of terrain that she had shown with shooting. While other candidates struggled with compass work and pace counting, Maya seemed to develop an internal sense of direction that allowed her to move accurately through unfamiliar territory regardless of conditions. During a night navigation exercise in the mountains east of San Diego, Maya's squad was tasked with reaching a series of checkpoints spread across 15 miles of rough terrain. The exercise was designed to test land navigation skills while simulating the fatigue and stress of extended operations. 3 hours into the exercise, Maya's squad leader realized they were lost. Despite careful attention to compass bearings and distance measurement, they had somehow drifted off course in the darkness. With dawn approaching and their time limit expiring, the squad faced the possibility of failure and elimination from the program. Maya requested permission to take a terrain association, using visible landmarks to determine their actual location relative to their intended route. Within minutes, she had identified their position and calculated a direct route to the remaining checkpoints that would allow them to complete the exercise within the time limit. "How did you figure that out?" asked Stevens, one of her squad mates, as they moved toward their final checkpoint. "Pattern recognition," Maya replied simply. "Terrain has a logic to it. Once you understand the pattern, navigation becomes automatic." The explanation seemed inadequate for the almost supernatural accuracy she had demonstrated, but Stevens was too relieved to question it further. They completed the exercise with time to spare, while several other squads failed to reach their final checkpoints. Maya's navigation skills attracted attention from instructors who specialized in reconnaissance and surveillance operations. These were among the most demanding roles in special operations, requiring personnel who could operate independently in hostile territory for extended periods. The ability to move accurately and invisibly through enemy terrain was literally a matter of life and death. As first phase training progressed towards conclusion, Maya found herself among the top performers in every measurable category. Her run times consistently ranked in the top 5%. Her swimming scores were flawless, and her performance on written examinations demonstrated mastery of technical material that challenged many of her classmates. But success in first phase was only the beginning. The psychological pressure of BUD/S training was designed to escalate continuously, identifying candidates who might break under the extreme stress of actual operations. Maya had proven she could handle physical challenges and technical training, but the worst was yet to come. Second phase would introduce her to the combat diving operations that separated SEALs from other special operations forces. Working with sophisticated underwater breathing apparatus, conducting underwater navigation, and performing complex tasks while breathing compressed gas under pressure required mental discipline that went beyond anything she had previously experienced. The transition to second phase was marked by a dramatic increase in academic requirements. Candidates were expected to master the physics of underwater operations, the physiology of diving medicine, and the technical specifications of equipment that could kill them if improperly used. Maya attacked the coursework with the same systematic approach she had used throughout her military career, but she quickly realized that academic knowledge alone would not be sufficient. Her first experience with mixed gas diving came during a controlled training exercise in the base pool. Breathing from an underwater rebreather system, Maya descended to a depth of 30 feet and began practicing basic underwater tasks. The sensation of breathing underwater while maintaining neutral buoyancy required constant attention to multiple variables simultaneously. Within minutes, Maya understood why diving training eliminated so many candidates. The psychological pressure of being underwater, combined with the physical effects of breathing compressed gas, created a state of heightened stress that could quickly escalate to panic. Candidates who lost control underwater faced immediate life-threatening consequences. Maya approached diving training with the same methodical preparation that had carried her through previous challenges. She studied equipment manuals until she could assemble and test gear with her eyes closed. She practiced emergency procedures repeatedly, drilling responses until they became automatic. Most importantly, She learned to maintain situational awareness while managing the multiple stressors of underwater operations. Her careful preparation paid off during the open ocean diving exercises that marked the culmination of second phase training. Operating in the cold, murky waters off the California coast, candidates were required to navigate underwater for distances of several miles while maintaining precise positioning and timing. The exercises began in 30 feet of water, with visibility limited to arm's length. Maya's dive buddy was a candidate named Morrison, a former college football player whose physical strength had carried him through first phase, but who struggled with the technical precision required for diving operations. Their mission was to navigate underwater to a target location nearly 2 miles offshore, plant a simulated explosive device, and return without being detected by surface security patrols. The exercise required precise navigation, careful buoyancy control, and flawless execution of technical procedures under realistic operational stress. Maya took responsibility for navigation while Morrison handled equipment and communication duties. Using an underwater compass and careful attention to bottom contours, she guided their team along a route that avoided detection while maintaining progress toward their objective. Halfway to the target, Morrison began showing signs of nitrogen narcosis, a condition caused by breathing compressed gas at depth that could impair judgment and motor function. Maya recognized the symptoms immediately and adjusted their depth to reduce the effects while continuing toward their objective. Despite the complications, they reached the target location precisely on schedule. Maya planted the simulated device while Morrison provided security, completing their primary mission objective. The return journey was even more challenging, as they had to navigate back to their insertion point while avoiding surface patrols that were actively searching for diving teams. Maya's precise navigation brought them back to their starting point within meters of their intended location, completing the exercise with a performance that impressed even veteran diving instructors. Morrison credited her leadership and technical expertise with saving his position in the program. "Rodriguez, I owe you one," Morrison said after they had completed their equipment checks. "I was about to lose it down there, and you kept me focused." Maya accepted his gratitude, but knew that mutual support was simply part of the SEAL culture she was trying to join. The teams operated on the principle that individual success meant nothing if teammates failed, a philosophy that would be tested even more severely in the final phase of training. Third phase introduced candidates to advanced tactical training, including weapons systems, explosives, and the small unit tactics that formed the core of SEAL operations. Maya would finally have the opportunity to demonstrate the marksmanship skills that had originally brought her to the attention of special operations recruiters. The weapons training began with basic rifle marksmanship, progressing through increasingly complex scenarios that required split-second decision-making under stress. Maya's performance with standard infantry weapons was solid, but not exceptional until they reached the precision shooting curriculum. Working with specialized sniper rifles and long-range optics, Maya's natural abilities became apparent to everyone in the class. While other candidates struggled to hit targets beyond 500 meters, Maya was making consistent hits at distances that challenged the capabilities of her equipment. Her understanding of ballistics and environmental effects allowed her to make first-round hits under conditions that required other shooters to walk their shots on a target. Chief Gunner's mate Phillips, the lead marksmanship instructor, had 20 years of experience training special operations snipers. He had seen exceptional marksmen before, but Maya's performance was in a category by itself. "Rodriguez, where did you learn to shoot like this?" Phillips asked after reviewing her target scores. "Training, Chief. Practice and good instruction." Phillips studied her targets more carefully, noting the tight shot groups and consistent point of impact. "This isn't just training. You're reading conditions and making adjustments that take most snipers years to develop." The advanced marksmanship training culminated in a field exercise that required candidates to engage multiple targets at varying distances while operating under realistic tactical constraints. Maya's squad was tasked with conducting a simulated reconnaissance mission that included both intelligence gathering and precision shooting requirements. Operating from a concealed position on a hillside overlooking the target area, Maya was responsible for providing overwatch while her teammates maneuvered closer to gather intelligence. The exercise scenario included enemy forces that would respond to any detected activity, making concealment and noise discipline critical factors. Maya established her shooting position using natural terrain features to create both concealment and stable firing support. She calculated range estimates to multiple reference points, recorded wind conditions, and prepared range cards that would allow her to engage targets quickly if the mission required lethal force. 2 hours into the exercise, her squad mates triggered an enemy response while attempting to photograph target facilities. Maya watched through her scope as her teammates were pursued by opposing forces that threatened to capture or eliminate them. The exercise rules allowed her to provide supporting fire if friendly forces were in immediate danger. Maya identified 3 enemy personnel who were moving to cut off her squad's escape route. The targets were at ranges between 400 and 600 meters, moving through terrain that provided only brief windows of opportunity. She would have one chance to neutralize the threats before they could react to her position. Her first shot dropped the closest target cleanly, the paintball round marking a center mass hit. The second target had barely registered the sound of her shot before Maya's follow-up round found its mark. The third target attempted to take cover, but Maya had anticipated his movement and placed her shot perfectly. The 3-target engagement was completed in less than 15 seconds with 3 hits that instructors later confirmed would have been fatal in actual combat. Maya's teammates escaped successfully while opposing forces were still trying to locate her firing position. Chief Phillips reviewed the engagement during the after-action debrief. Rodriguez, that was a textbook example of precision shooting under pressure. Distance, timing, target selection, everything was perfect. Maya's performance during the shooting exercise attracted attention from senior instructors who specialized in sniper operations. They recognized that her combination of technical skill and tactical understanding represented capabilities that were rare even among seasoned special operations personnel. As third-phase training neared its conclusion, Maya found herself among a steadily shrinking group of candidates who had survived every elimination. Class 324 had begun with 180 hopefuls. Fewer than 30 remained as they approached the final evaluations that would determine who earned the right to wear the SEAL Trident. The culminating exercise was a week-long field operation that tested every skill candidates had learned during their 6 months of training. Maya's squad would be required to conduct multiple mission types, including reconnaissance, direct action, and precision shooting, while operating in a realistic training environment that simulated enemy territory. The exercise began with an underwater insertion that required Maya's team to swim several miles offshore before establishing a hide site on a remote beach. From there, they would conduct surveillance of enemy facilities, gather intelligence, and wait for opportunities to conduct direct action missions against high-value targets. Maya's role combined elements of reconnaissance and precision shooting, requiring her to establish observation posts that provided both intelligence gathering capability and overwatch for her teammates. The position demanded that she remain virtually motionless for hours at a time while maintaining constant vigilance and readiness to engage targets. On the third day of the exercise, Maya's overwatch position detected enemy personnel who posed a threat to her squad's primary mission. 4 armed guards were patrolling an area that her teammates needed to cross to reach their objective. The guards followed an irregular patrol pattern that made timing their movements difficult, but Maya identified a brief window when 3 of them would be vulnerable simultaneously. The engagement required Maya to take 3 precision shots in rapid succession, neutralizing the guards before they could raise an alarm. The targets were at different ranges and elevations, requiring quick adjustments between shots. Maya controlled her breathing, made her calculations, and waited for the optimal moment. Her first shot dropped the lead guard silently. Before his body hit the ground, Maya had shifted to her second target and fired again. The third shot followed less than 2 seconds later, eliminating all 3 threats before any could react. The remaining guard was isolated and captured by Maya's teammates without raising an alarm. The successful engagement allowed her squad to complete their primary mission and extract without detection. During the post-exercise debrief, instructors confirmed that Maya's shooting had prevented a mission failure that would have resulted in the loss of valuable intelligence and potential compromise of friendly forces. Commander Harrison, the senior instructor responsible for graduation decisions, pulled Maya aside after the final exercise. "Rodriguez, your performance throughout this program has been exceptional. You've not only met every standard we've set, you've consistently exceeded them." Maya felt a mixture of pride and relief, but she sensed there was more to the conversation. However, Harrison continued, "Graduating from BUD/S is only the beginning. The real test comes when you join a SEAL team and prove you can operate effectively in the field. That's where some people discover that training performance doesn't always translate to operational success." Harrison explained that Maya would be assigned to SEAL Team 7, a West Coast unit with extensive combat experience in Iraq and Afghanistan. She would undergo additional specialized training before deploying with the team, focusing on the sniper and reconnaissance skills that had distinguished her throughout BUD/S. Team 7 has some of the most experienced operators in the special operations community, Harrison said. "They'll evaluate your performance based on operational standards, not training standards. Some of them are going to be skeptical about having a woman on the team, regardless of your qualifications." Maya understood the implications of his words. She had proven she could meet the technical requirements of SEAL training, but operational deployment would test her ability to function as part of a combat team under conditions where mistakes could cost lives. "I'm ready for whatever comes next, sir," Maya replied. As Maya prepared to leave BUD/S and join her first SEAL team, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. 6 months earlier, she had been an improving candidate whose presence in the program was considered an experiment. Now she was about to become one of fewer than 2,500 active-duty Navy SEALs in the world, having earned her place through performance that spoke louder than any policy debate. The Trident ceremony was a private affair, attended only by the handful of personnel who knew about Maya's participation in the experimental integration program. As Commander Harrison pinned the Golden Eagle, anchor, trident, and pistol to her uniform, Maya understood that she had crossed a threshold from which there could be no return. She was no longer Maya Rodriguez, the young woman from El Paso who had dreamed of serving her country. She was now Petty Officer First Class Rodriguez, United States Navy SEAL, ready to prove that excellence had no gender and that warriors came in forms that traditionalists had never imagined. The real test was just beginning. The headquarters of SEAL Team 7 felt like walking into a testosterone-fueled monastery where the religion was violence, and the prayers were whispered in tactical terminology. Maya's first morning at the Coronado compound began with suspicious glances from operators who had heard rumors about the new team member but couldn't quite believe what they were seeing. At 0600 hours, she stood in formation with Alpha Platoon, 24 men who had collectively conducted hundreds of combat missions across multiple theaters of war. Senior Chief Petty Officer Marcus Kane stepped in front of the formation, his weathered face showing the accumulated stress of 15 years in special operations. Kane was a living legend among SEALs, having served in Iraq during the worst of the insurgency and multiple tours in Afghanistan hunting high-value targets. His opinion carried weight that could make or break careers. "Gentlemen," Kane began, his voice carrying across the morning air, "I want to introduce our newest team member, Petty Officer Rodriguez. Some of you have probably heard stories about her background and training performance." Kane's gaze shifted to Maya, his expression unreadable. "What you've heard doesn't matter. What matters is whether she can do the job when bullets start flying and people are depending on her to bring them home alive." The introduction was neither welcoming nor hostile, simply factual in the way that special operations professionals evaluated everything and everyone based on operational utility. Maya understood she was being given the opportunity to prove herself, but also that failure would confirm the suspicions of those who believed women had no place in combat. Her squad leader was Chief Petty Officer Jake Morrison, a former Marine Scout sniper who had transitioned to the Navy and earned his trident through sheer determination and exceptional marksmanship. Morrison had initially been skeptical about Maya's assignment to his squad, but her BUD/S performance records and shooting scores had given him reason to keep an open mind. "Rodriguez," Morrison said after dismissing the formation, "you'll be working as our designated marksman until we can evaluate your capabilities in the field. That means you're responsible for precision shooting, reconnaissance, and target identification during operations." Morrison explained that Alpha Platoon was scheduled to deploy to Afghanistan in 6 weeks, where they would conduct counterterrorism missions in the mountainous border region between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The area was known for difficult terrain, extreme weather conditions, and enemy forces that had been fighting against foreign armies for decades. "This isn't going to be like training," Morrison continued. "The people we're fighting have home field advantage, unlimited ammunition, and nothing to lose. They're not going to surrender because you put a red dot on them." Maya's pre-deployment training began immediately with advanced marksmanship courses that pushed her skills beyond anything she had experienced during BUD/S. Working with the latest sniper rifles and long-range optics, she learned to engage targets at distances exceeding 1,000 meters under various environmental conditions. The advanced shooting curriculum was conducted by Master Chief Tom Bradley, a sniper instructor whose operational experience included some of the longest confirmed kills in SEAL history. Bradley had initially been assigned to evaluate Maya's readiness for operational deployment, but quickly discovered that her shooting abilities exceeded those of many seasoned operators. "Rodriguez, show me a cold bore shot at 800 meters, Bradley instructed during her first range session. A cold bore shot was considered one of the most demanding tests of sniper skill, requiring a first-round hit on a target without any preliminary shots to confirm zero or atmospheric conditions. Maya studied the range conditions, calculated her ballistic solution, and settled into her shooting position behind a state-of-the-art precision rifle. Her breathing slowed to a barely perceptible rhythm as she aligned her scope reticle with the distant target. Wind flags indicated a mild crosswind that would require a slight adjustment to her point of aim. Maya made the correction, controlled her natural point of aim, and pressed the trigger with surgical precision. The target fell immediately, indicating a center mass hit at a distance where many experienced marksmen would require several shots to find their target. Bradley reviewed the shot through his spotting scope and shook his head in amazement. "That was a perfect shot," Bradley said. "How long have you been shooting precision rifles?" "About 2 years intensively, Master Chief," Maya replied. Bradley had been shooting for over 20 years and had trained hundreds of military snipers. He had never seen anyone develop such advanced skills in such a short time frame. Maya's performance suggested either exceptional natural ability or training methods that far exceeded standard military instruction. Over the following weeks, Maya's shooting performances continued to impress even skeptical instructors. She consistently achieved first-round hits at extreme distances, demonstrated flawless performance under stress, and showed an intuitive understanding of ballistics that typically required years of experience to develop. Her technical skills were complemented by tactical proficiency that surprised veterans who had expected her to struggle with the combat applications of marksmanship. Maya understood that precision shooting in combat required more than accuracy. It required the ability to operate undetected, communicate effectively with team members, and make split-second decisions that could affect mission outcomes. During a complex training exercise that simulated a hostage rescue scenario, Maya's squad was tasked with eliminating multiple targets while ensuring the safety of friendly personnel in the target area. The exercise required precise coordination between assault teams and sniper support, with timing measured in fractions of seconds. Maya established her overwatch position on a rooftop 400 meters from the target building, where she could observe the entire area of operations while remaining concealed from enemy forces. Her mission was to identify and eliminate specific high-value targets while providing real-time intelligence to the assault team. As the exercise began, Maya observed through her scope as enemy personnel moved through the target building, some holding simulated hostages while others prepared defensive positions. Her job was to distinguish between legitimate targets and role players representing innocent civilians, a task that required both technical precision and tactical judgment. "Overwatch, this is Alpha 1, came Morrison's voice through her radio earpiece. "We need confirmation on target identification before we breach." Maya adjusted her scope magnification to study the faces of personnel in the target building, comparing them with photographs of the exercise targets she had memorized during her mission briefing. "Alpha 1, I have visual confirmation on Target 1, second floor, north window. Target 2 is on the ground floor, eastern room. Roger, Overwatch. Stand by for breach." The assault team moved toward the building while Maya maintained observation of her assigned targets. As they approached the breach point, Target 1 moved toward a window position where he could engage the assault team during their entry. Maya had seconds to neutralize the threat before her teammates entered the kill zone. Her shot broke at the precise moment Target 1 raised his weapon toward the approaching assault team. The paintball round struck him center mass, marking a kill that would have saved the lives of several team members. Before Target 1's body could hit the floor, Maya had shifted her aim to engage Target 2, who was moving toward a position where he could threaten hostages. The second shot was more challenging, requiring Maya to thread her round through a narrow window opening while Target 2 was partially concealed behind a doorframe. She calculated the target's movement pattern, led her aim appropriately, and fired at the moment when her target presented the clear shot. Both targets were eliminated before the assault team completed their breach, allowing them to secure the building and rescue all hostages without friendly casualties. During the after-action review, exercise controllers confirmed that Maya's shooting had prevented multiple friendly casualties and mission failure. Chief Morrison pulled Maya aside after the exercise to discuss her performance. "Rodriguez, that was outstanding work. Your target identification was perfect, your timing was flawless, and your shots were exactly what we needed." "Thank you, Chief," Maya replied, though she sensed there was more to his evaluation. "I'll be honest," Morrison continued, "I had concerns about how you'd perform under pressure with lives on the line, even simulated ones. What I saw today was an operator who can deliver when it matters." Morrison's endorsement carried significant weight within the platoon, as his combat experience and tactical expertise were respected by both junior personnel and senior leadership. His public recognition of Maya's capabilities helped establish her credibility among team members who had remained skeptical about her presence. As Maya's training progressed, she began participating in more complex exercises that tested her ability to operate effectively as part of an integrated team. These scenarios required her to balance her individual responsibilities as a precision shooter with her obligations as a team member who could be called upon to perform various support roles. During a multi-day field exercise in the Mojave Desert, Maya's squad conducted a series of simulated missions that required them to operate in an environment that closely approximated the conditions they would face in Afghanistan. The exercise included long-range patrol movements, establishment of observation posts, and direct action missions against fortified positions. Maya's role throughout the exercise combined reconnaissance, communications, and precision shooting responsibilities. She was required to move with the squad across difficult terrain while carrying specialized equipment, establish concealed positions that provided optimal fields of fire, and maintain constant communication with team leadership regarding enemy movements and target identification. The exercise tested not only technical skills, but also physical endurance and mental resilience. Operating with minimal sleep, limited water, and the constant stress of simulated combat operations, several squad members began showing signs of fatigue and decreased performance. Maya's conditioning and mental discipline allowed her to maintain peak performance throughout the exercise. On the final day of the exercise, Maya's squad was tasked with conducting a raid against a heavily defended compound that represented a high-value target. The mission required them to infiltrate within striking distance of the objective, conduct detailed surveillance to identify enemy strengths and weaknesses, and execute a coordinated assault that would neutralize all threats while capturing valuable intelligence. Maya established an overwatch position that allowed her to observe the target compound while providing fire support for the assault team. Her mission briefing identified several specific targets who were considered critical threats, including a sniper who was positioned to engage her teammates during their approach. As the assault began, Maya observed enemy personnel responding to the attack with coordinated defensive actions that suggested professional military training. The enemy sniper she had been briefed on moved to a position where he could engage her squad with devastating effect, requiring immediate neutralization to prevent friendly casualties. The target was partially concealed behind concrete barriers at a range of approximately 650 meters, presenting only brief opportunities for engagement as he moved between firing positions. Maya tracked his movement pattern through her scope, calculating the timing required to intercept him during his next transition. When a moment came, Maya's shot was perfect. The round struck the enemy sniper just as he was settling into his firing position, eliminating the threat before he could engage any of Maya's teammates. Her shooting allowed the assault team to complete their mission with no friendly casualties and all objectives achieved. Master Chief Bradley reviewed Maya's performance during the post-exercise debrief. "Rodriguez, your shooting throughout this exercise was exceptional, but more importantly, your tactical decision-making was outstanding. You prioritized targets correctly, communicated effectively, and supported your team exactly as we'd expect from a seasoned operator." Bradley's assessment was shared by other senior leaders who had observed Maya's performance throughout her pre-deployment training. She had not only demonstrated technical competence, but had proven she could operate effectively under the stress and complexity of realistic combat scenarios. As Alpha Platoon prepared for deployment to Afghanistan, Maya underwent final preparations that included briefings on the specific threats and challenges they would face in their area of operations. The briefings painted a picture of an operational environment where enemy forces were experienced, well-equipped, and intimately familiar with terrain that would challenge even veteran special operations personnel. Intelligence reports described enemy forces that included former Afghan military personnel, foreign fighters with extensive combat experience, and local tribal militia who had been fighting against foreign armies for decades. These were not the poorly trained and equipped insurgents that some newer operators might expect, but professional soldiers who understood modern military tactics and had access to sophisticated weapons. The mountainous terrain of eastern Afghanistan presented additional challenges that would test every aspect of Maya's training. Operating at altitudes above 8,000 feet, in temperatures that could range from scorching during the day to freezing at night, while carrying equipment loads that could exceed 100 pounds, required physical conditioning and mental toughness that went beyond anything Maya had previously experienced. Maya's final evaluation before deployment came during a comprehensive assessment that tested every skill she would need in the field. The evaluation included long-range shooting under various conditions, tactical movement across difficult terrain, radio communications, medical procedures, and decision-making under stress. She completed every component of the evaluation with scores that placed her among the top performers in the platoon, earning the confidence of team leaders who would be responsible for integrating her into combat operations. More importantly, she had gained the respect of teammates who had initially questioned whether a woman could meet the physical and mental demands of special operations. Chief Morrison delivered Maya's final evaluation during a private briefing that would determine her readiness for operational deployment. "Rodriguez, over the past 6 weeks you've proven you can do the job. Your shooting skills are exceptional, your tactical understanding is solid, and your physical conditioning meets our standards." Morrison paused, his expression becoming more serious. "What I need to know is whether you're ready for the psychological reality of taking lives in combat. Training targets don't have families. They don't bleed. They don't cry for help when you put bullets in them. Maya had considered this question throughout her training, understanding that her role as a precision shooter would inevitably require her to kill enemy personnel at distances that allowed her to see their faces clearly through her scope. She had no illusions about the psychological impact of lethal force, but she was confident in her ability to perform her duties when American lives were at stake. "Chief, I understand what this job requires," Maya replied. "I'm ready to do whatever is necessary to protect our team and accomplish our mission." Morrison studied her face, looking for signs of uncertainty or false bravado that might indicate she was unprepared for the reality of combat. What he saw was the same calm determination that had carried Maya through every challenge she had faced since joining the Navy. "All right, Rodriguez, you're going to Afghanistan." 2 weeks later, Maya found herself aboard a military transport aircraft flying toward Bagram Airfield, carrying equipment and expectations that would soon be tested under the most demanding conditions imaginable. As she looked out the small window at the rugged landscape below, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. Less than 3 years earlier, she had been a teenager with dreams of military service and no clear path to achieve them. Now she was a fully qualified Navy SEAL about to deploy to one of the most dangerous areas of operations in the world, where her performance would determine not only her own survival, but potentially the lives of her teammates and the success of critical missions. The aircraft began its descent toward Bagram, and Maya checked her equipment one final time. Her precision rifle was secured in its case, her communications gear was tested and ready, and her medical supplies were organized for immediate access. Most importantly, her mind was focused on a mission ahead, and the responsibility she carried as the first woman to deploy operationally with a SEAL team. As the wheels touched down on the Afghan runway, Maya knew that everything she had trained for was about to be put to the ultimate test. The mountains ahead held enemies who would kill her and her teammates without hesitation, terrain that had defeated armies throughout history, and challenges that would push her abilities to their absolute limits. She was ready for all of it.